Hello and welcome to the latest update on the SmashFM US tour. It's New Year's Eve here in Australia, 2017. I'm Andrew Seabrook in Melbourne, and today we're catching up with Will Taylor, who's now travelled to Nashville, Tennessee, and taken in some of the sights and sounds of the city. Just before we cross live to Will, I would like to thank all of the viewers who've given us some feedback on our impromptu little efforts here in these crosses. It's been really appreciated by both Will and myself. Anyway, let's bring Will in. How was your week there, Will?
Yeah, it's been mighty freezing. Let's put it that way, Andrew. Today has dropped to 1 degree Celsius here in Nashville, Tennessee. Tomorrow is going to make it worse, but look, it's one of the most amazing cities I've been to already. Nashville, and everyone in Nashville is so nice, so friendly. You can easily walk up to them, and it's funny because being, with my accent of being Australian, they're like, "Oh, you must have been Australian." I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, at the same time, it's a bit awkward as well. But yeah, it's great being here at Nashville, Tennessee.
So you actually caught up on your sleep. You were telling me before the show.
I did, yeah. So obviously, I didn't sleep much in Dallas. When I arrived in Dallas, I think I had like 3 hours sleep all up in 3 days in Dallas. And like since I arrived in Nashville, I've slept for like 16, 17 hours in my only just 1-2 days here in Nashville so far. So yeah, so it's pretty nice to get a bit of sleep before, especially before tomorrow, which I'm going to head into probably Nashville downtown to celebrate New Year's.
Cool. Well, give us a bit of a rundown on the various bits and pieces that you've been working on.
Yeah, so let's start off with today. Obviously, I didn't do anything yesterday. Obviously, our viewers can see. I went to downtown Nashville and took through the sights of the Nashville area. And as you can see, we just started right at the start of the Johnny Cash Museum. It's highly recommended to go to, and I completely agree. It's one of the best museums I've been to. I spent about an hour there in the museum, the Johnny Cash Museum. If you love your country music, and especially if you're a Johnny Cash fan like I am, this museum is the most fascinating museum. It takes through from when he started. Actually, it started way back in his college or high school days. Then he went to serve for the US before his music career, and obviously his TV and stage career really took hold there. So as you can see by the photos, obviously most people know Johnny Cash from, of course, songs like Walk the Line, The Rain of Fire. It's the most amazing showcase museum I've ever been to. So if you're in Nashville, if you want to ever come to Nashville, that's definitely one place to go to. Another place you have to go to here in Nashville is the country music Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures because you weren't allowed to. So it's one that, so every country music legend that has ever embraced the Nashville area or the US and around the world, it's all there in the Hall of Fame there in Nashville. Hundreds of records, hundreds of trophies, and especially a lot of memories from the past, how long has been in the country music industry, especially here in America. So, and yeah, so that's where we've been. Went to downtown, and also there is the Winterfest here at the moment here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I actually had a chance to, as you probably see in the photos, hopefully fairly soon, one of the country music stars here in Nashville. Of course, she's actually not based out here in Nashville, but That is Maggie Rose. Most people might know her because, especially if you've been listening to country music, one of the best record sellers at the moment in the US and around the world. So, yeah, great to meet up with her for a chat, and she's one of the nicest persons I've ever met.
So how did you catch up with her? What led to that?
Yeah, so she just finished her performance. It was part of the Team USA tour sort of thing in the lead up to the Winter Olympics, which is next year as well, in 2018 in Japan, I think, or Korea. I can't remember where it is exactly. So they're doing a tour around the US as part of the Team USA, and obviously the stop was in Nashville.
There's the picture of you and her.
Correct. So yeah, she just finished her performance, and everyone, all flocked around and did a photo with her. Now you can see there in that photo just a moment ago in downtown Tennessee. Now, obviously, tomorrow is the big game, the NFL game between the Tennessee Titans and the Jackson Jaguars. Now, one thing that we don't get to see in our backyard, which is a norm over here in the US, the day or 2 days prior to the game, you get to see the mascot, the cheerleaders, and the band of that particular NFL club come out and promote the game in downtown of that particular city, and just to promote the game, give away some merchandise, which actually include a free shirt, which I didn't get that, and posters and every merchandise you can think of. That's what they gave away to the fans to get them to come to the game tomorrow.
So this is the NFL game or the hockey game. Correct. That you went to, the NFL game.
So the NFL game's tomorrow. So New Year's Eve here. So everyone's probably wondering. You're all probably wondering what I'm wearing at the moment. I actually went to an NHL game, which was played at Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville, and as you can see there. So it was a great game, absolutely great game. I guess to be inside, and I tell you what, talking about fans here in Nashville, and you know how many people are mentioning how vocal, how we get into our sports in Melbourne. We've got absolutely nothing compared to what it's like here in Nashville. They are so vocal, so supportive of the team, and they give the opposition absolute flack, like you never believe. So, every time a call went against them, the referees even got a bit of a touch-up by the supporters here in Nashville, vocally, obviously. But yeah, they're the most vocalist fan I've ever seen, just supporting their team. So I think Melbourne, we've got a bit of catching up to do to get to the best fan base in the world.
So tell us, this is the game itself. Tell us a little bit about Correct. The experience of going to an ice hockey game in the States. Of course, here in Australia, there is an ice hockey league, but it doesn't attract this sort of a crowd at all, does it?
No, it definitely doesn't. As soon as I got to the game 2 hours before the game, which is if you did it here, so I did it over there in Australia, in Melbourne, to the O'Brien Group Arena. 2 hours before the game, no one's there, or barely anyone's there. Here, I was lucky to get in for the door with so many people already in. 2.5 hours before the game. It's incredible, and just being there, the introductions, as people can see, that's the introductions of the fans, and and yes, it's all about the entertainment, really. Being inside and and watching it from where I was, it's probably the best sport I've actually been involved in so far. So yeah, they're really interacting to all the fans. And one thing that people don't know about Nashville, especially the Predators, is that they actually made it to the Stanley Cup final last year, fell short in 6 games, and now ice hockey is actually the number one sport that people support here in Nashville, followed by the football, which if you went to any other city, that's unheard of. It's actually, most cities, it's football or basketball before ice hockey. Here in Nashville, it's different. It's ice hockey, football, and then they actually just got a new pro sports team here in Nashville, which is the soccer, which will start next year. So I must say, if you ever want to go to an ice hockey game anywhere in America, I would highly recommend it because it's the best experience I've been involved in.
So, this is the game is actually running behind us at the moment. Tell us all a little bit about it. It was Nashville versus Minnesota, wasn't it?
It was. And funny enough, Andrew, they played the night before in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, which the Minnesota Wild won 4-2. But it was a tight game, a real grinded out game. First period, of course, in ice hockey, they play 3 periods. And the first period was just a grinded out slog. No one really took control of that game. The fans got a little bit restless, but no one really took control of that game in some ways in that game. Second period, Nashville came out all guns blazing, attacked everything they could to get the lead. They had missed 3 or 4 great opportunities to score. That didn't happen. So we went into the final period. We tied at 0-0. And then all of a sudden, in the 5 minutes, the first goal scored, and then went another and another one. They managed to score 3 goals at the end. They won 3-0 over Minnesota Wild. And tell you what, the fans, when they score, when the home team score, they absolutely give it to the referees and they give it to the opposition like you never ever believe. So it's experience that I don't think I would have got if I didn't go to that game.
Cool. So who ended up winning?
The home team. So the Minnesota Predators won 3-0, which is obviously the team I'm wearing right now. So I'm now a Minnesota Predator supporter now. So they converted me to be a a Nashville Predator. So fan.
That's today. And of course, you were telling me before the show that the temperature has dropped slightly. You were asking about the temperature here. It's very nice here today in Melbourne. Delightful day here in the low 20s. Bit colder there. And we were talking about needing gloves and scarves. Yeah.
Yeah, so today we've got to 1 degree Celsius. Tomorrow is -3.
So where are you going?
-3 degrees.
-3 degrees. Where are you going to be travelling to in the -3 degrees? What's on your schedule?
Well, I'm going to Nissan Stadium to watch the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And funny enough, my hotel I'm staying in right now is full of Jacksonville Jaguars supporters wanting to give it everything to the Tennessee Titans because obviously if they win, the Tennessee Titans, they go straight through to the playoffs. If they lose, then they have to rely on the Buffalo Bills and the LA Chargers to lose for them to make the playoffs. So critical game. And of course, if Tennessee wins, they'll play down in Jacksonville next week in the playoffs in the wild card game.
And this is the Nissan Stadium's an open air stadium too, isn't it?
Correct. Oh yeah.
So you'll
Yes, I went past it today.
definitely be wearing gloves and scarves and your beanies. multiple
Mini
multiple
beanies.
beanies, multiple beanies. Yeah, that's good. So that's it there. And still staying in Nashville for a couple of days.
Yes, I'm there. Obviously here tomorrow. I'm here the next day and until about 6 o'clock on New Year's Day, and then I'll be heading to the Big Apple for 9 days.
And hopefully the weather's okay to get in and get out of New York at that point in time.
I hope so.
So that's right.
It's more getting out of the city more than getting in the city. So I'm more worried about. So
Yeah, well, worst case scenario, you can always sort of get in or out by train and then go and fly from another airport. So
I don't know that's
maybe
possible
Philadelphia.
considering I've got. Considering like the thing is though, considering that I got to be in LA and have a 45-minute transit to get home. I'm hoping I don't have to do that.
Well,
so I don't want to
enjoy everything until then, and don't worry too much about all of that, and enjoy the rest of the Nashville trip, and hopefully everything goes okay in New York for you. So that's it there. Here, couple of interesting results have happened. Yeah.
What happened last night at the State Basketball Centre?
Well, the State Basketball Centre.
Did I hear one team did not score a single point in the last quarter?
Yes, so in the third meeting of the season between the Dandenong Rangers and the Deakin Melbourne Boomers, the Boomers consolidated their hold on the Michelle Timms Cup, which is the Challenge Cup between the two sides, and unfortunately there wasn't the handover of the cup. That didn't occur.
Dandenong didn't want to give it away.
No, it wasn't that at all. But there are some circumstances intervened that made it not possible to actually do to do an on-court handover, unfortunately. But the Boomers came out and absolutely were flying from the first quarter on, and so I think they ended up about a 38-40 point win in the end.
35.
35, yeah, it was close. 35-point win, and it was really good. And both coaches actually managed to get their bench, get the young players on, the development players on for significant minutes along the way. But one of the interesting stats was that Dandenong did not score in the last quarter at all.
Can't believe that.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't that they were playing all that badly. There was a lot of good stuff, but I'll tell you what, the Boomers just simply lifted their defensive effort up dramatically, and watching it because I was working, I wasn't able to sort of sit back and watch it as a spectator, but they came out and they just looked like they were a team that knew they were in finals and were playing as if they were finalists. And unfortunately, Dandenong just got hit by an onslaught along the way, and that's with I mean, Liz Cambage was good, but she didn't rack up as many points as she might have if she'd been in better touch. So that's a worrying sign for Perth, I would say. Go on.
Yeah, it amazed me. I just looked at the stat. 24 assists to 9. That's astounding. I've never seen that ever happen in the WNBL before.
Yeah. It was as I said. They moved the ball well. They played as a team. Jenna Hayes closing in on her 3,000th WNBL goal. She didn't make it. She didn't make it. I think she scored 6 or 8.
Yeah, 8.
She's got 8, so she's got another 12 points to go. So another 6 baskets, and she's hit that goal there. So I'd expect that will happen in Perth. Yeah. Perth? No, it should happen here on Wednesday. Wednesday, I would suggest, against Perth.
Correct.
So, but you know, it was just a lot of unselfish play. Monique Conti came out and really provided a spark along the way a couple of times. And in the post-game interviews, she was saying that that's one of the things that she's been working on, that she really, whenever she comes out onto the court, she wants to provide that spark of energy and enthusiasm and get other people into the game as well. Kalani Purcell, absolutely fantastic in defence, and it won't be reflected on the stats at all, but the number of times she actually got a hand on the ball and just changed a shot, little deflections, all those sorts of things. It was great. From the Dandenong side, Carly Mitrovic played a fantastic game. She was a standout for them, and Tessa Lavey coming back in gave them some good minutes as well. You know, lots of people have different opinions about the way she plays as well, but I actually thought she did a really good job last night. I'll be shot down in flames by a few people on that, but yeah, no, I quite liked what was going on. Blivax, I should say that correctly. I apologise, Botty, but she had a horror. She really did. Just was not connecting with the shots whatsoever. That was Stephanie, of course. So, you know, Dandenong has really suffered big with injuries all through the season. And of the two teams, I mean, both have injuries. Beck Cole is injured for Melbourne. May suit up on Wednesday night. May not. She may rest a little bit longer and be ready for the second leg in Perth. But I think basically that Melbourne has had a much better run in managing the injuries along the way. So that was
bench points was the key, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, as I said, the bench came out and they provided lots off there. Luella Tomlinson, fantastic. You know, she has been contributing really, really well to the Boomers when you watch the games. Unfortunately, we can't watch game tape because it's not available to us. But if you watch the games closely, she's always in there, again, like Kalani, you know, doing things defensively and so on. Last night she was also producing on the scoring end as well. So I think she came away with 10 points from memory. I haven't got the stats in front of me, but it's probably about that. So that was the WNBL stuff that of course we were all involved in along the way.
And just keeping you up to date with all the other two WNBL games to finish the round. Townsville smashed Perth 83-51 up in Townsville. 25-9 last quarter. 43-16 second half did the job there for the Townsville Fire. Suji Batovic with 31 points for the Fire. And Sydney Flames in Bendigo defeating the Spirit 75-63. The difference was the first half, 42-23. First half got the job done for the Flames.
And that's interesting because that's Perth's second loss on the road for the weekend. So they lost both games. Of course, the first one I think was to Sydney itself, and then going down to Townsville. So that puts a question mark to me. With Sydney winning both games, Townsville losing one and winning one, and both sitting on the same. Before the round, they were basically Townsville second, Sydney third on the ladder. To me, that makes it possible that at the end of the minor series, of the regular season, Sydney has the potential there to finish second and Townsville third. Now, whilst it doesn't put them out of finals, it could in fact make a difference to where the games are actually played because there's a home and away round
between both teams.
Yeah,
because Perth was safe anyway.
Yeah, so the maths, my calculation on the maths was that would have actually have put Sydney as the second finisher on the ladder. Whether that's actually how it's going to pan out, I don't know. So I haven't looked at the ladder today, but
I have looked at. I've actually got the ladder up. Now they end up both finishing on the same win-loss record.
Yep.
At the end.
Yep.
Now that means we'll go on head-to-head. Now Sydney has won.
I think they've won 2, haven't they? 2 over Townsville.
Yeah, they've won 2. Correct.
So that
3 over Townsville.
Yeah, and because everybody has already been. Everybody's been pre-selling tickets because I think their game is scheduled for Thursday, isn't it? Wednesday or Thursday?
So game 1 will be in Townsville, at the Townsville Stadium on the 4th of Jan, and then games 2 and 3 will be Baden Stadium in Sydney on the 6th and the 8th. And
so before this weekend, it was the other way around.
Correct. Oof.
So there's an interesting one. So it's not over till the
yes, the fat lady sings.
That operatic person sings. Yes, I was going to try and be.
Yes, I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
But so because I know both teams were promoting it as if game 1 was going to be in Sydney, and now both teams are like, oh, now what do we do?
So it's an interesting finish. It's interesting thing, and it's just shown you how close the season has actually been. Canberra got up. Canberra's finished on a high.
They did.
Adelaide's finished on a high. The struggle, I suppose, the team that's had the biggest struggles, and again, this is perhaps down to injuries, is Bendigo. So my question would be, has the compressed season worked with the existing constraints of existing teams not being able to have a deep enough bench, if you like, to be able to cater for injuries? Certainly in terms of spectator numbers, it's definitely gone up. Oh, that was an interesting thing. It was a record crowd at the State Basketball Centre, over 2,700 people in the stadium for a derby. So not the biggest crowd in the stadium that they've had, but the biggest in a Rangers Boomers game. So it was a good weekend. That was
very good weekend.
That was the Women's League. That was the Women's League.
Yeah. The men's, of course, I'll go for the men's right now. Great game. Adelaide knocked over New Zealand by 2 points, which kept Adelaide's season. They've got something that they managed to match up so well, Adelaide and New Zealand, and Adelaide defeating them. That's now their 3rd time they've defeated New Zealand this season. In other games, it was the Illawarra Hawks. They just finished their game tonight in Wollongong. They smashed the Bullets 104-82, so the Bullets season could be done. And, of course, the Melbourne United 103 defeating the Sydney Kings 79 in Sydney. And Casper Ware with 26 points, Josh Boone with 18, so with Chris Golding. And great to see Kedrick Felix scoring 7 points and 7 rebounds as a starter for Melbourne United.
Yeah, good review from Roy Ward on that game in the local paper here, The Age. So a nice write up on that particular game. That is that's the death knell for the Sydney Kings for the season. I think you'd have to, knowing how Andrew Gaze is so passionate about everything, you'd have to be sort of sympathetic to his cause. He tries every trick in the trade that he knows to get the guys up and going and so on. But I tell you what, they just came up against a Melbourne United that was red hot along the way. So Dean Vickerman's got everybody firing, and the new importers seem to fit it in really well. Again, another very good write-up from Roy Ward also on profiling the new import. The Adelaide game.
Felix.
The Adelaide game, that was an interesting one. I was actually watching that along the way. That was tight. That was a really, really tight game. And New Zealand at that point in time was on top of the ladder. So for Adelaide to get up and to beat them, that was a huge thing, because they've had a couple of below average games for Joey Wright in the past, but they absolutely got up and delivered for him in that particular game. But a very, very tight backwards and forwards game. Mika Vukona doing a sterling job as usual. Abercrombie, fantastic. But the Adelaide combinations just got it done down the track. It was an excellent effort from them.
Which is funny now, because the ladder has now completely changed with those two games done. The Perth Wildcats are on top 10-5 at the moment. Melbourne United have moved into second position on 11-6, but if the final started today, because of the head-to-head, New Zealand will go into second position, but because the season's not over yet, Melbourne United are in second. New Zealand in third, they're both with 11-6. Adelaide now 9-8. And Cairns at 8-10. Of course, they've got a game tonight against the Perth Wildcats. Illawarra 7-9, Brisbane 7-10, Sydney 5-14. So really, Adelaide has just done a big, huge favour. Obviously, Illawarra has still got a chance, but Adelaide probably with that win is pretty much in the box seat to make finals now.
Yeah, and that Cairns Perth game, to me, that's a real danger game for the Wildcats. The one place that is hardest to win at is other than over in Perth is up in Cairns. And if Aaron Fern can get the guys to lock down on the Perth offense, which is what they're capable of doing, don't be surprised if there's an upset there, which potentially could put Melbourne into top spot.
Correct. So and I guess it's really interesting because we mentioned before that Perth, well, obviously New Zealand losing another game, but Perth have also had a bit of a form slump, haven't they?
Yes. It's more of a go slow than a form slump. The other teams have just come out and played really well. Perth has been going along doing its thing quietly, and again, the last thing they want to do is just have a few key losses at this point. And this particular game, I think, is one of those key games for Perth, that they've got to get these away wins. That going back home, it's almost a no-brainer for Perth, and it has been for the last few seasons. More than the last few seasons, the last decade, really. It's one of the hardest places to get for an away team to get a win. Interesting, Adelaide has had a very good record over in Perth, but they're about the only team that actually has. So, but if Perth can get the next couple of away games, if they can get the wins there, I think they're going to finish the minor season comfortably on top along the way.
Do you think Perth and New Zealand are worried about Adelaide? Because it seems like Adelaide has got the measure on both of them.
I think all four teams. I think the top four is going to be pretty much settled now, and I think it's going to be Perth, Melbourne, the Breakers, New Zealand, and Adelaide, and any of those four teams on the day can beat any of the other teams. So I think they're all as worried about each other. Cairns has got a chance of making it, but I think. Looking at the draw going forward, I rather suspect that they're going to drop off.
The reason why I asked that, because Melbourne hasn't got a good record on Perth or New Zealand, but they've got a good record on Adelaide.
Yeah, but again, what we've seen with Melbourne is that when everything clicks, as it did this weekend, when everything clicks, they're almost impossible to stop. You know, and I think I said the last game it'll be interesting to see which Melbourne team turns up. Obviously, Sydney's team didn't, but there's there. If you want to watch the Sydney Kings post game conference, it's up on YouTube. Just search that under Sydney Kings. So that's there, and you can see the anguish that Andrew Gaze is going through. But you know, that's what it is.
He just needs one special player in Sydney, I think, because it just seemed to me it's too one-dimensional.
Yeah, well, it hasn't hurt with Lish going down and various other injuries that they've had during the seasons as well. But you know, there's lots of discussion on the various forums about the root cause of all of the issues. I'm not going to buy into any of that.
No,
you know, none of the coaches, none of the players go out there to play badly. They all want to win. You know, and you could see that was quite evident in that particular game with Randall coming up with I think 28 points, didn't it? Something
correct.
Like that. So they wanted to win, but you know, it's just a matter of everybody doing it at the same time. And as I said, Melbourne came out, they just looked the better team on the night, and they played like they were the better team. So that's how it's going to happen. Any other things that you want to cover?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think when we were in Dallas, when I was in Dallas, we mentioned about the US in regards to the Australian teams over here at the moment. There's billions of Australian teams at the moment. Not quite billions, but, you know. So obviously McKinnon's still in North Carolina. Southern Peninsula is still in North Carolina. They actually had their first win today. So fantastic win by the girls by 10 points. Earlier today. Southeast Eagles had their first win of their campaign here in the US over in Dallas. Of course, they had a great win.
Well, they've got a couple of teams. The Southeast Eagles have got a couple of teams, and I did notice that their high school team, because they've got a team in junior varsity and also in the high school. The high school team sort of come through with a couple of wins, couple of losses, and they've sort of finished mid-table in that tournament over there. The varsity team, I think, is the one that you're referring to that had their first win.
Yes. Also, the Geelong Supercats are over here at the moment in the US. I think they're still in Dallas at this stage. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention before that, of course, Hawthorns also won their first 2 games in the girls in North Carolina. And the other one I forgot to mention in Dallas was that the Frankston team is over here, the girls team are over here. And I can't remember exactly where they are at the moment, but they're here as well. So there's quite a few Australian teams over here at the moment.
Yeah, there certainly are, and again, we'll be watching their progress with interest as well. In other Australian news or stuff, again we were talking about the NCAA Div 1 competition. St Mary's got up over BYU. Of course, there's a number of Australian players in the St Mary's team.
Great game.
This is the girls, and they got up over there in a really, really good game over there as well. So I know there's a lot of interest in how they're travelling. St Mary's being very much a key destination for a lot of Australian players, courtesy of Paddy Mills and various other players along the way.
But you know what's also fun? Yeah, it's also funny because where St. Mary's is in California. So most of them will try and get a bit of sunshine, I guess. Put it that way.
All right. Well, talking about sunshine, it's time to let you get some shut eye and prepare for your day in the blizzard conditions. No, the cold. And we'll catch up with you. Hopefully, we'll catch up with you tomorrow night.
Correct. And of course, for our Melbourne listeners, happy 2018.
See you then.
See ya.